Okay, it's 4 p.m., so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for being here, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. First, audio has been disabled for attendees. Click on the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen to view and ask questions. During the moderated Q&A session, selected questions will appear and be addressed by Deputy Director Debbie Montenegro. Please note that this meeting will be recorded. You can submit questions anonymously in the Q&A. For technical support, please email NNLM region3@unthsc.edu. And quick note, closed captioning is available for this session as well. Click on the closed caption button at the bottom of your screen and click on show subtitles for captions. Okay, with that out of the way, my name is Brian Leaf, and I'm the Executive Director of NNLM Region 3. Today, I'm going to provide an overview of the technical requirements for submitting applications and things you may want to keep in mind as you're putting together your application package. For roughly the last half to third of the hour, we'll take any questions in the Q&A. Please feel free to ask questions at any time. These slides will be sent to registrants at the conclusion of this webinar in case you miss one of the links shown or mentioned on these slides or in this presentation. Before I get started though, I just want to take the opportunity to welcome you to the new 2021 to 2026 performance cycle for the Regional Medical Library Program. It was quite a bit of news for all of us when the geography was reconfigured for the regions, but we're excited to get to know everyone in the states that we're not as familiar with. And we've been working with our NNLM colleagues in what was formerly known as MCR, or the Mid-Continental Region, to understand the landscape better. We look forward to the new opportunities and potential new collaborations that can take place throughout the 7 states. For those of you who aren't as familiar with us, our team is based in Fort Worth at the University of North Texas Health Science Center. And for the past 5 years, we've been host to the NNLM South Central region, which serves the 5-state region of Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. This is our team. In the top left, we have Dan Burgard, our University Librarian and Vice Provost of Scholarly Information Management. To the right, moving clockwise, we have Debbie Montenegro, our Deputy Director. Bailey Sterling, our Digital Communication Specialist. Margie Shepard, whom some of you may know, is our Community Engagement Coordinator based at the University of Kansas Medical Center. Moving up to the first row, we have Miriam Hernandez, a part-time contractor with us based in West Texas. And sorry, let me go ahead and disable timings real quick. Normally, I'm pretty good at doing that. Sorry, where was I? So Miriam Hernandez, a part-time contractor with us based in West Texas and a former SCR coordinator. Jen Ortiz, our consumer health coordinator and membership lead. Edward Caldwell, our health professions coordinator and educational lead, and then a dated photo of me. If you have any questions or just want to get to know us, please feel free to contact any of us. As we begin our new cycle, we've begun to implement strategic plans to effectively conduct outreach in the region. And some of the things to look out for that we plan on offering or have already started to offer are dual language offerings in Spanish and other languages, continuing education for librarians, community health workers, and nurses. That's coming soon. We're not currently offering any CNE, but we're hoping to in the very near future. Many of you know that support for DocLine has moved back to the region, so we have formed a little regional team here. We've also, because of COVID-19, really switched into producing a lot more digital content for outreach and education. And we've really been able to develop a strong digital production workflow for that. So feel free to ask us about that in the future as well. Things that we have coming up. We are looking to form a couple of different advisory boards. And we are still trying to figure out what our new communications platform is. We're not quite ready to announce that, If you're looking for updates, you can follow our current social media or sign up for our old listserv for updates. The link is right here, but again, these slides will be shared with all of you after this presentation. And then last but not least, something that we like to say and like to tell people throughout the course of our outreach. Some of you have heard this from us before, but we answer our phones and we like to chat on the phone. So please feel free to call us at any time within business hours. Okay, so today is going to be somewhat short and sweet. I'm going to go over our grant and just some technical details and tips in terms of putting them together and submitting, and then I'll answer any questions that people have about them later. So this is just a basic overview of the awards that we have and about how much we estimated for each award category. These are just estimates. The actual number of awards may vary depending on the type of applications that we get in. The deadline for program awards, so that's really the top 3 awards that you see here. Those are due on June 17th. And then for the rest of the awards, except for our Emerging Leader Award and our Library Student Outreach Award, so I'm talking about the Training Outreach, the Exhibit Award, the Professional Development Award, and the Virtual Professional Development Award. Those are all accepted on a rolling basis until April 1st, 2022, or until our funds have been expended for those categories. So just again, I'm not going to go do a deep dive into the content and what's expected for every single award, but I just want to go over a couple of highlights. So as I mentioned, these awards are due on June 17th, 2021. The features of these awards are very similar to awards that RMLs have awarded in the past. We ask that proposals include integrating an NLM product such as PubMed, clinical trials, or Medline Plus in a meaningful way. If you're not very familiar with our NLM products, this might be a reason to talk to us ahead of time. We do have a preference for projects that reach underserved, minority, and/or underrepresented communities. Such as the population in the rural Mississippi Delta region. And in general, we're looking for innovative and multifaceted projects that show collaboration, that contribute both to our mission and yours. I mentioned that our individual awards are offered on a rolling basis until April 1st, 2022, or until our funds for each of these categories have been expended. A bit of a change that we've had, if you've been familiar with what awards the South Central region offered, each of these awards will only be awarded once per year within each category. So you would not be able to apply for the Training Outreach Award more than once in a year, or be awarded the Training Outreach Award more than once in a year. And same with each of these other ones. I do want to highlight the Training Outreach Award a little bit. So actually, maybe I should talk about it using the Professional Development and Virtual Professional Development Award as a framework. So our Professional Development and Virtual Professional Development is for individuals that are seeking to take some sort of class or training. So you want to go to a conference, or you want to attend a webinar that costs money, or you want to bring in a trainer for your group. That's what professional development and virtual professional development awards are for. Training outreach awards are a little different. These are for individuals that are trying to teach a class. They are trying to extend basically the educational offerings of our office. They want to go out into the field and teach a class in the community. During a discrete period of time. We're not putting a specific time on that, but let's say, for instance, you want to teach a set of classes, to your local public library system. That is what the training outreach is training outreach award is for. You're not looking to do a full program that's going to take the entire year to do, but you still want to offer some sort of programming for part of the year. And that is what the training outreach award is for. Then we have our exhibit award. This is for, as you might imagine, this is for exhibiting in the region, either the conference or health fair or something like that. And then we also have an Emerging Leader Award and Fall LIS Developments and Outreach Award. These aren't available right now. As we move forward, more information will come out about those things. So that's really just a quick and dirty look at our awards. What I really want to talk about, for really the technical piece of this webinar is what our expectations are in composing and submitting applications. So in the past, or maybe you have experience with another RML, maybe you used a pre-built form, or maybe there was an online application system. I know we have played with that in the past. There are no pre-built forms, PDF forms or online applications this year for the main part of your application. We're asking that people follow the guidelines in the RFPs, and we ask that people follow our formatting guidelines. So this is keeping, essentially this is to keep things readable and cohesive. We want to be able to spend our time really just evaluating the content and narrative of what you're doing, and and not worry about the formatting or the variety of formatting that we've sometimes gotten in the past with application. So 12-point font, text color, these are actually very similar to what NIH guidelines are for formatting applications. Use black text color or some other high contrast color. You have your choice of these recommended fonts, 1-inch margins, a Word document format or PDF file format is acceptable, and use clearly formatted headings. Please note that for our applications this year, we have page limits for each section. And then things that you'll also want to sort of consider as you go along is any internal deadlines or signatories that you might need within your institution. And then for your full application, go ahead and email that to NNLM Region 3 at unthsc.edu. So this is just an example. This is just, I just copy and pasted this from one of our RFPs. We have a section in your proposal that's just called project proposals, don't exceed 5 pages. And then we have a bullet point for each of the sections that we expect. So when you are actually when you're actually building out your application, it might look something like this. So, it's the same exact headings. You have your project title, you have your project summary, and you have your partners, Times New Roman, 12 font. And I probably spent way too much on this application example, but this first line is actually somewhat true. Oops. So additional considerations. All of our awards are cost reimbursement only. So we do not pay anything up front. You invoice us and our university reimburses you. No human subjects research is allowed. If you have an IRB board at your institution and you're unsure of whether or not your application is human subjects research, they're worth consulting with if you have time, but we'll also do it on our end. The award amounts, so that 25,000, that 8,000, that 5,000, those include indirect costs, also known as F&A costs. Capital improvements are not allowed, so you can't build, a new annex in your building with our funding, unfortunately. Not that it's enough to do so. If you're producing educational or outreach materials, please seek out 508 accessibility guidance as soon as possible. So anything that's produced using our funding needs to be 508 accessible. We can maybe provide a few resources and guidance, but it's really, if you know the types of things that you're going to create, it's always good to find someone to consult with or see what services are available on your campus or your institution to ensure that materials that you create are 508 accessible. I know our website is a little messy right now. We are still using our old website at the moment. The new website will not become available until later this month. So on each of the funding pages or award pages, look for the application file and look for that downloadable RFP. It should be a Word document. It should have all the information that you need. If you're looking for additional guidance on grant writing, or if you want us to get into, or if you'd like to hear more details about, about the different parts of a grant proposal, Debbie and we actually did a webinar for the South Central chapter of MLA back in the fall, and that recording is up on this link. And again, these slides will be made available after this session, so you'll get that link. Something I want to point out real quick is that at the end of every single RFP, we basically provided a list of all the items that you would need to submit. So, you have the full project proposal. I think in the RFP, it's divided out into 3 sections, but this can all just be one file. So there are 3 sections of information, proposal, and budget. You can all just fit that in one single Word file or PDF file. And then each of these other forms sort of have, well, CVs and resumes. We sort of consider them separate, or at least we kind of want to receive them separately from your proposal. Then there are 3 PDFs that we ask for. And other documentation. Really, to meet that June 17th deadline, the most essential part of your, the things that we really need are what's highlighted in yellow here. Full project proposal and CV and resumes, and then any other items that you want us to consider as we are reviewing your application. So this could be an IRB determination letter if that's applicable. That could be a direct beneficiaries or population served checklist. This is provided on our awards this is provided as a file on our awards as well. And then any letters of support you might have. But really the most crucial thing that you need to make sure you get to us on that June 17th deadline is number 1 and 2. The reason why we ask for the rest of these things is because contracting can take a bit of time, and should your application be accepted, having all of these materials will just help us expedite that subaward processing and contract execution.
Oh, can I add in a clarification?
Yes.
The IRB determination letter is just to say that your project is not human subject research. So I know it might be confusing to hear like no human subjects, but you need an IRB determination letter. So that's only if, if there's questions within your own organization, if it's human subjects research or not. Sometimes you can get a letter from your IRB when they've looked it over to say, no, it is not. And so if applicable, that would be great to have added on, but that can take time as well. So that's why that's in the not in the immediate list of things.
Great, thank you, Debbie. Okay, so here's what our timeline looks like. I've said this several times. June 17th is our grant application deadline. In July is when we conduct our reviews. And then at about the same time, what we've been really looking into over this past year is how we can improve our contracting process and just really, again, try to expedite that the sub-award processing and contract execution as quickly as possible. So while we are reviewing these things, we're also submitting a lot of this paperwork to our research administration and departments on campus. So should we select your application, they have all the information they need. or if there is information missing, we still have time to get that information from you or from your Office of Sponsored Programs, or similar support department that you might have. In August, as soon as possible, that's when we hope to notify all applicants of their status. And then again, August and September, we hope to get everything completed during this time, with a start date of no later than October 1st, 2021. So I didn't include this in these slides, but something that you may want to note is that if you are submitting an application and you're trying to try to figure out when your timeline begins or how to calculate calendar months, you're going to want to start with October 1st, 2021, and then the performance period for our grants goes until April 30th, 2022. So everyone's timeline should be within the October to April timeline. Do you have anything to add with that, Debbie?
Just that this year, due to it being the first year, the awards this year will be shorter than usual, so less than the year. So keep that in mind when creating your project timelines. But years 2 through 5 should go back to the more normal year-long schedule.
Yeah, and typically during a normal schedule, our applications, and this will happen, so this is actually coming up fairly soon, but in December, our new set of applications will open up, and then applications for year 2 will likely be due sometime in early spring or late winter. Yeah.
And there is a question that came up. I figured I'd just answer it verbally. It says, does this timeline mean that conferences before October aren't an option for the professional development grant? These deadlines are for the larger awards like the health information outreach, the express, the kits, the program kits. So these deadlines don't necessarily apply to the individual awards. The individual awards are on a rolling basis. So these you can apply to throughout the year until April 1st or until funds are expended. So you could apply for a conference that would be in October.
Yeah, any of the awards that you see here on the screen, except for the Emerging Leader and LIS Development Awards, you can apply for right now. Okay, and that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. I think I see a few coming in, so Debbie will moderate the Q&A session. But for our website, our old website is going away. So if you're familiar with GMR, or SCR, any of the other RMLs, those will be going away. Our funding is still there, as long as it will be there. We're actually not sure when the new site will come online. So the URL that you can depend on is nnlm.gov. And also, of course, please, find us on social media and sign up for our listserv. And we're going to be putting out a lot of information there about, moving to a new communication platform and signing up for, whatever else, whatever we end up selecting.
Okay, we have a couple of questions that have come in, so I'm just going to answer them verbally. That way we can have them show up. Someone says, I may have missed it, but will there be a recording? Yes, there will be a recording. And then one person asked, Brian, can you show the bigger award slide again?
Yes.
All right. Someone says, at my institution, survey research concerning reactions to classes, et cetera, is considered human subject research, but is usually classified as IRB exempt by IRB office staff and officials. Is this type of IRB exempt research allowed? That would be not allowable because IRB exempt is still a type of human subject research. So it would have to be a project that your IRB group has deemed as not human subject research. So they can do that, like look at your project and give you a letter that says this is not human subject research, but human subject expedited or exempt or any of those is still in the realm of human subject research. It's still considered as that.
And they can also maybe provide guidance on what would you need to remove to get the determination that it is not human subjects research.
Right. Like you can always adjust your project in order to make it to where it's not human subject research by perhaps removing and adding some other items. All right. I think we've answered all the questions in, oh, nope, there's another one I didn't see at the bottom. If there is a virtual training opportunity that exceeds the $500 limit for a group at my institution to attend, is it possible to receive additional funding? I would say in that case, you would apply for the larger professional development award of 2000. While the virtual one is 500, that was more for specifically people who want to attend virtual events that are at a lower like funding range. But the larger professional development award at 2000, while generally meant for in-person events and traveling, we've also accepted virtual trainings if the cost is higher.
Yeah, we just didn't want to discourage people from, feeling like they're taking up a $2,000 award for a $50 opportunity. But really, I would say that our professional development funds are our most flexible. If people are only applying for, I think we listed maybe 10 virtual professional development awards. Well, if everyone's applying for conferences that only have, $25, registration fees, then we're able to offer a few more professional development funds that year.
All right, we'll just give a minute for any other questions in the Q&A. And again, if you still have to mull things over and look at the slides and think about it, feel free to reach out and email us these questions. And as Brian said, he'll be sending out the slides, so you'll be able to have that as a reference as well, as I know sometimes, people need a little more time to look through the details to be able to ask some more questions.
We're also very happy to be a sounding board. If you have a full application, we're not going to review the text of your application. The most we'll do is, maybe check your application to make sure it adheres to our formatting guidelines. But if you just want to have a conversation with us, or if you want more advice on applying or writing grant applications, we're very happy to answer and have a conversation with you about your ideas and maybe how to refine your ideas.
Okay, a couple of questions have popped in. Someone said next year's applications. Yes, so since this is a bit of a compressed year, the applications for year 2 will be opening probably around December as well. So that will be year 2. And then someone says, what if my project costs less than the 25,000 grant opportunity, but is the best one for my project? Feel free to still apply. You don't have to maximize the budget to fit the 25. The 25 is just the maximum that can be asked for. So the 25 is just the total maximum cost, which includes if you have IDC at your institution, it would have to be part of that 25,000 budget. So yes, you can still submit for that category if you would like. Then another question is there a place to view sample applications, particularly from public libraries? I think, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, I think NLM is working on having a page with some FAQs, and we will have some sort of application example. I'm not sure if it's a public libraries one. It's hard to have application samples available because most people who submit their applications, it's generally not something that's shared out. But you can always give us a call and we can talk about, what things might be applicable or what ideas we might have about public libraries.
Yeah, during the last cycle, there were example proposals, or at least one example proposal that was made available. Um, I'll try to look for that and send that out along with the slides. And then if you want to have a conversation if you want to take a look at that proposal together with one of us, assuming we have time, we can probably do that.
Yeah, and I would just say the earlier the better. If you have questions, feel free to ask throughout this time until the end. We tend to get a lot of questions closer to the deadline, so if you want to get our attention, it's probably easier to get our attention a little earlier on.
Yeah, we like it when people talk to us. So just get in touch with us, talk to us early and often if you can. There might be a couple questions that still come in, but before we get to those or before you all leave, please note that when this session ends, a survey will pop up in your browser. We really appreciate your help with helping us fulfill our reporting requirements for presentations that we give. So it's just a quick attendance poll. But if there are, it doesn't look like there are any more questions coming in. We appreciate you attending today. Again, if you have any more questions or just want to introduce yourself, if we don't know you already, please feel free to contact us. And otherwise, hope everyone has a great rest of your day and a great weekend.
Yes, everyone have a great weekend and you get a half hour back.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.